Hello, and welcome to this Introduction to the Leadership Challenge workshop. This is Dan Schwab, Certified Master of the Leadership Challenge, here to present to you information to help you be a full participant in the Integris Performance Advisors Leadership Challenge workshop. So what we will do today is to introduce the Leadership Challenge model and the research behind it, flagship leadership development program in use worldwide now. Help preview what the workshop itself will look like so that you can come fully prepared and ready to go. And then finally, and most importantly, clarify the steps for completing your leadership practices inventory assessment. Along the way, if there are questions that come up, we will give you information on who to contact with those. And I'm happy to be with you here today. I've been teaching Leadership Challenge for more than 20 years and have worked with thousands of people bringing this excellent program to help people understand what it means to lead in today's world. So why would this be important to us anyway, to study leadership development? Well, the first thing that comes up is that we live at this time of remarkable change in technology, in our population, in regulation, in every aspect of life. We live at the time of most profound and rapid change in human history. And we also are in this endless drive for our organizations to be quicker, bolder, more efficient, and more inclusive. In addition, of course, our population is changing with baby boomers retiring and younger people coming into the workplace. It's very important that we understand how to lead across generations. It's also true that many people in the workforce are just plain disengaged with their work. And one of the differences that research tells us is that when people get effective leadership from their immediate supervisors, they're much more engaged in the work they do and more productive as a result. And I think any of us would understand that we can't stand still around how we continue to learn about what makes us successful in the workplace. Good news is there's better tools available for us now, including all of the research behind the Leadership Challenge. But one of the things that I'd like to point out right at the beginning is this statement from Peter Drucker that culture actually trumps strategy in how we create effective businesses. And for us to study leadership is to bring into our daily work what it means to be a leader in today's world and how we affect people to get the optimum outcome. And in that way, I would say we are surrounded by opportunities to lead more frequently and more effectively. It's also important to recognize that there are different roles that we play within the organizations we work in, between supervising other people or managing, which would be the science of running the organization, and what it means to lead. And leading really is a different set of skills than these other two. And the question we investigate is this one: what practices do leaders engage in that distinguish them from otherwise competent people? This indeed is the original research question behind the Leadership Challenge research, as exemplified in the latest edition of the Leadership Challenge book. Leadership Challenge research was initiated in 1985 by these two gentlemen, Jim Kouzes on the left and Barry Posner on the right, at Santa Clara University. And in there are more than 30 years of data collection around this topic of what is it that leaders do. We have gathered information from more than 5 million respondents to surveys. This research is now extended to 72 countries worldwide. In addition, being an evidence-based program, more than 600 studies have been built on top of the Leadership Challenge research by other researchers in the field. The 6th edition of the book was published in just May of 2017 with entirely new case studies and data worldwide that helps people understand what is it that leaders do anyway. And what the Leadership Challenge has shown us that there are 5 practices that leaders engage in. Leaders model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. And by the study of these practices, we help people understand what to do if you want to be seen as a leader by other people, if you want to initiate change in your organization, if you have dreams, whether they be large or small, of something that you want to do that's your unique contribution, the Leadership Challenge model will help you identify what to do to be more effective. So let's briefly take a look at these 5 practices so that you have this in mind as you set up your leadership practices inventory assessment. I often talk about the leadership challenge first by pointing out that to lead is about the future. In fact, if leadership is about anything at all, it's about what's to come. Therefore, the practice of Inspire, a shared vision, is a place where we put considerable emphasis in our workshop to help people envision a future worth creating, and then enlist others in that common vision by appealing to their desire to be part of that future. This indeed is a primary practice of leadership, but there's more to it than that, of course. We also have to understand as leaders that it is our job to make change happen. And we say that means to challenge the process. That is, to challenge the way we've been doing things, our business as usual or status quo, and look at continually improving our methodology to create the world that's in line with our vision. And we do this by searching for opportunities to innovate, to grow, to change, and then help people feel safe to experiment and take risk by constantly generating small improvements and learning from the inevitable mistakes. Now, no leader works alone. In fact, the human element of leadership is indispensable. The first of the two practices around people in the leadership challenge are how we enable others to act. That is, how do we make other people more powerful by fostering collaboration, building relationships that can stand the test of time? And also, how do we strengthen others by increasing their self-determination and helping them develop their competence as well as their confidence? This leads us to also recognize that emotion is central to the idea of leadership between any two people, and that therefore the job of the leader is to encourage the heart. That is, to recognize contributions by showing appreciation for individual excellence, as well as celebrating the values and victories by creating a true sense of community within the group that you are leading. And finally, the fifth practice, which is actually the first one that the research shows us, the most important factor of all, is that we model the way. That is, that we set the example for other people by speaking for our own truth with our own voice and set an example for other people about how to behave. These 5 practices, research confirms, are the basis for effectively leading other people in the workplace. And in the workshop, we will explore all 5 practices in great depth. Now, how would you know how well you're doing around these 5 practices? We can demonstrate that this is all learnable material that you've been working with actually for much of your life, whether you're aware of it or not. But it turns out it's also measurable. We have created an assessment called the Leadership Practices Inventory, or LPI, that helps people assess where are they as leaders and how do other people experience them as leaders. This is a 360-degree survey instrument, meaning that it provides you a balanced picture of your current practice as a leader based on the input of other people as compared to your self-assessment. The LPI consists of 30 behavior-based statements that are all based on evidence as being important for people to willingly follow a leader. And each behavior is measured simply on frequency. How frequent do your observers see you engaged in this behavior? So it has nothing to do with your IQ, your personal style, or anything else. It's just how people experience you. Each of these 30 behaviors is ranked on a 10-point rating scale. And then in addition, we have the opportunity for people to make narrative-based comments, text-based comments about how they experience you as a leader. This leads to a balanced picture of leadership as perceived by those around you. As I said, this measures frequency. The scale runs from 1 to 10, from almost never to almost always. And there is no does not apply, because we understand that all 30 of these behaviors are essential for your success as a leader. And if people don't see them happening very frequently, that's good information for you to say, how could I be more visible engaging in this behavior? So you might ask yourself as you're listening to this, how would you rate yourself on questions like this? I set a personal example of what I expect of others, because that's the question people will also be answering about you. Or just describe a compelling image of what our future could be like, a question from Inspire, a Shared Vision. Or How frequently do people see you taking initiative in anticipating and responding to change, or treating others with dignity and respect? And then finally, do you praise people for a job well done? These are the types of questions that inhabit the LPI. You will rate yourself on how frequently you think you do these, and then of course you're asking other people to do the same. This is a picture of what your report will look like when you receive it in the class. This is the 5 practices summary, so it just shows the summary data from each of the 5 practices. There are 6 behaviors associated with each practice, so the overall score per practice can be between 6 and 60. And then you can see how the scores are distributed across the observers laid across the top of the page. This detailed page from the Model the Way summary shows 2 of the 6 behaviors associated with Model the Way in the individual scores received from all of the observers. Of course, you notice here they're on a scale from 1 to 10. And it's true that D1 is the same person throughout your report. You don't know who that person is. There's confidentiality around how the data is reported, but it gives you the sense of continuity, how an individual person on your staff experiences you. This data is also displayed to you in a frequency ranking from most frequent to least frequent based on the average of all of your observer scores, which is the center column on this page. This helps you see which practices you engage in most frequently as seen by others, and which at the bottom of the list are least frequent and therefore worthy of your attention. In addition, as I said, there are open-ended or narrative questions within the assessment that people can type in a text-based reply to each of these 5 questions, so that you get both a data or evidence-based rating of yourself, numeric rating, as well as a more narrative-based rating, so that you can use both parts of that information to inform how other people see you. The LPI is considered the flagship or gold standard of leadership assessments worldwide, and it's been used with more than 3 million people. And in the workshop, you will be able to find great value in assessing the feedback that's coming back to you from your observers. Okay, so how does this work? Completing the LPI is really simple. You will soon receive an email from notifications@lpionline.com that will lead you to an individual page online where you register for the survey and then rate yourself on the 30 behaviors yourself. How frequently do you think you do these things? Then you will add the names and email addresses of between 10 and even 20 observers so that they can take the assessment and give you feedback on their perspective of your behavior. Now, when you choose those observers, you'll want to give them advance notice that they will be receiving this email from notifications@lpionline.com, so they'll be ready for it, and then brief them that it will take them maybe 20 to 30 minutes to complete. It's a very simple process. Now, when you're selecting observers, you have 4 categories that you can place observers in. The first is your current or a former manager, if you've been with your current manager for, let's say, less than 6 months. Your direct reports, those are people who you supervise. Co-workers would be your peers, no reporting relationship. And then there is a category of O or others, which you are free to use as you would wish. It could be customers, people outside your organization. It could be people from a community group that you're part of. That's up to you. But we would recommend that you think about a wide range of people who interact with you regularly that would have an ability to give you useful feedback on how they see you behaving as a leader. All of the input on the LPI is confidential, with the exception of your manager's score, if indeed you have only one manager. Okay. Now, about the workshop itself. We've been teaching Leadership Challenge for a long time, and it's a really great experience. But what we can tell you is that it takes a lot of energy. It's intense. We use all the time. And oftentimes people report that it was fully engaging and they needed to let go of their other work assignments for the 2 days we're in the workshop. There's lots of interaction, both small groups, large groups, individual reflection, pairs, trios. We use every tool in the adult learning playbook to create a great learning experience. We also ask you to complete 2 pieces of pre-work beyond the LPI. The first is to reflect on a leadership best experience from your past, a time when you felt yourself to be at your best as a leader, so that you can tell that story with a small group of people in the workshop. And that also you think about a current situation that you're involved in. It's an opportunity for you to lead more effectively, because we will orient the workshop towards the practical application of the skills to a challenge you're facing now. Right. And also, I need to say, the workshop's a lot of fun. We make it as fast-paced and engaging as possible, and people typically very pleased with the interaction during the workshop. Because this is our work, is to help people become more effective leading other people. The world needs you. Everything that we do is based on this one audacious assumption, which is that you make a difference. And the question, of course, being, what difference do you want to make, and how can you move there most quickly? That's the focus of the Leadership Challenge workshop. And I'll be pleased to invite you to our workshop to make this the most meaningful learning experience of your recent career. Now, if questions come up about the workshop, the LPI, or anything else having to do with this program, please contact Integris through this email address, contact@integrispa.com, and we'll be happy to get back to you with answers to any questions that you may have to make this the most enjoyable learning experience. I'd like to thank you for your time today, wish you the best, and we look forward to seeing you in the workshop.